The ocean floor, a dark and enigmatic abyss, is a vast repository of secrets that still defy our understanding. Under its silent surface, fragments of history, unknown creatures, and findings that seem straight out of legends or nightmares have been discovered. Over time, explorers, divers, and scientists have unearthed objects so strange that to this day many of them remain without a clear explanation. Among the most intriguing discoveries is the Golden Orb of the Pacific, found in 2023. In the abyssal depths of the Gulf of Alaska, about 3,300 meters under the sea, a team of explorers came across an unexpected object. The cameras of the robotic vehicle Alaska 5 recorded a shiny, rounded shape attached to an underwater mound, standing out in the marine gloom. The scientists, surprised, stopped the remotely operated vehicle ROV to get a better look. What they saw looked almost organic, a dull golden globe with a smooth surface and a skin-like texture, about 10 centimeters in diameter and with a dome shape, similar to a melted hat. The most unsettling thing was a small hole or tear near its base, a perfectly rounded hole that suggested something might have entered or exited its interior. This finding perplexed everyone on board and the audience following the live broadcast, with one researcher commenting, "This is like the beginning of a horror movie." Very carefully, the ROV's robotic arm touched the object, revealing a delicate surface like silk or a very fine membrane that adhered slightly to the rock. When they tried to pick it up, its fragility became evident, detaching under slight pressure. The golden sphere was carefully sucked into a special container to be brought to the surface. The absence of clear structures such as letters, eyes, or distinguishable parts tipped the balance toward the hypothesis that it was a giant egg, although none of the scientists had ever seen such an egg before. On board the ship, with the object in gloved hands, the uncertainty grew. The golden egg showed no immediate signs of life, feeling soft but firm, flexible yet resistant. Sam Candio of NOAA Ocean Exploration commented that the finding is a reminder of how little we know about our planet and the ocean. Scientists plan to analyze the object's genetics to unravel its origin, with theories pointing to an egg casing from some unknown marine species or the remains of a never-before-classified sponge. Another fascinating case is that of the Suiomaru carcass, nicknamed Nessie. In the early morning of April 25, 1977, the crew of the Japanese fishing boat Suiomaru was fishing near New Zealand when something unimaginable got caught in their nets. From about 300 meters deep, a strange and gigantic figure emerged, an inert body that was neither a fish nor a whale. This flabby, foul-smelling mass, which emanated an unbearable stench, looked like a sea monster with a 1.5-meter long neck, 4 reddish fins, and a torn tail. It measured about 10 meters in length and weighed approximately 1.8 tons, but it was in an advanced state of decomposition, with its head missing eyes and part of its lower jaw. The astonished fishermen thought they had pulled the carcass of a plesiosaur, a prehistoric marine reptile that went extinct about 65 million years ago, from the abyss. The captain, Akira Tanaka, decided to throw it back into the sea to avoid spoiling the catch, but not before the sailors took photographs, measured its proportions, and cut small fragments of tissue, bones, and fins to preserve them in brine. When the news reached Japan, plesiosaur mania broke out, with the idea of a modern plesiosaur igniting the public and scientific imagination. Japanese experts like Yoshinori Yasumi and Toki Shikama agreed that the photos showed something very similar to a giant marine reptile. However, Western marine biologists warned that decomposing basking sharks lose key parts of their heads and fins, acquiring an elongated silhouette reminiscent of a plesiosaur. Finally, advanced biochemical analyses of the tissue fragments confirmed that the remains undoubtedly belonged to a decomposing basking shark. The tests revealed the presence of a stuidin, a protein unique to shark cartilage, and the absence of reptilian bone structures. Despite the conclusive evidence, the legend of the modern plesiosaur persisted in some circles in Japan, even with the issuance of a commemorative postage stamp, although the basking shark explanation was widely accepted by the academic community over time. In the summer of 2011, the Baltic Sea was the scene of another mystery. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. A Swedish shipwreck exploration group, Ocean X Team, detected something unusual 91 meters deep while dragging the seafloor. On the sonar screens, a huge circular silhouette appeared, approximately 60 meters in diameter, with remarkably symmetrical contours and at the end of a flat, nearly 300-meter stretch of the seabed as if it had left a trail. The grainy black and white image was quickly compared to the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, sparking speculation about its origin. Divers from the Ocean X Team inspected the structure, finding a rocky formation with rounded, stepped edges rising 3 or 4 meters above the seabed, with the appearance of a gigantic stony mushroom or an oval platform. Parts of the surface looked unusually smooth and had straight edges and angles of up to 90 degrees, which fueled the idea of an artificial object. They even reported the existence of something similar to steps or terraces. To increase the mystery, the team claimed that their electrical equipment failed when they approached the anomaly. Theories ranged from sunken flying saucers to extraterrestrial artifacts or human constructions from an ice age. However, marine geologists pointed out that the Baltic seabed has been shaped by successive glaciations. Years later, analyses of small rock samples from the anomaly confirmed that it was composed of common rocks from the region, such as granite, gneiss, and sandstone, typical of glacial areas. The explanation for the peculiar shape was that the low-resolution image from the original sonar generated blurry contours that the human brain tended to reinterpret as something symmetrical and familiar. In reality, it would be a pile of glacial rocks eroded over time. Despite the geological explanation, the aura of mystery persists for some, who doubt the official conclusions. About 60 kilometers south of the island of Sicily, on the Pantelleria Vecchia Bank, the megalith of the Pantelleria Vecchia Bank was discovered in 2015. A team of oceanographers conducting high-resolution mapping detected unusual linear structures at about 40 meters deep. Divers sent to investigate found a huge stone monolith broken into 2 large sections lying on the sandy seabed. It was an elongated block of sedimentary limestone about 12 meters in total length, equivalent to a 4-story building lying on its side, and an estimated weight of 15 tons. The most striking features were its 3 perforations: a main hole that ran through the rock from side to side, a straight cylindrical tunnel that coincided in both fragmented halves, and 2 other smaller holes on the sides, all of regular shape. This indicated that it had been artificially carved and was not a natural formation. Scientists wondered who, when, and why they had carved, transported, and erected such a megalith only to leave it submerged. The clues came from geology. About 9,500 to 10,000 years ago, at the end of the last glaciation, the sea level was much lower and Pantelleria Vecchia emerged as islands. The monolith must have been on dry land during the early Mesolithic period, being covered by the sea with the global melt towards 7,000 BC. This means that any human intervention occurred about 10,000 years ago, an age that challenged the conventional view of simple Mesolithic societies without monumental construction capabilities. Scientists speculated that it could have served as a nautical signal or coastal lighthouse, and some underwater archaeologists compare its importance to that of Stonehenge, rewriting what we know about ancient technical abilities. Some people have related this finding to the mythical Atlantis. In a case worthy of science fiction, metallic spheres were found in Papua New Guinea. In the early morning of January 8, 2014, an incandescent meteor streaked across the sky over Manus Island and disintegrated over the Bismarck Sea. This event went unnoticed until astronomers from Harvard University, including Professor Avi Loeb, concluded that this meteor, known as IM-1, came from outside our solar system, being potentially the first interstellar meteor identified. Convinced of finding fragments, Loeb organized the Galileo expedition in 2023. Armed with a research vessel and a powerful magnet, they sailed to the calculated impact coordinates, about 85 kilometers north of Papua New Guinea in the South Pacific at about 2,000 meters deep. For 2 weeks, they dragged the special magnet, and on June 20, 2023, they detected small, shiny specks stuck to it. Under the microscope, they were revealed to be small metallic spheres many less than 1 millimeter in diameter, with a dark golden color and a polished surface. About 50 spherules were recovered, some containing smaller spheres inside, probably formed by the melting and solidification of metal droplets. These would be the first fragments of an interstellar object rescued from the ocean. X-ray fluorescence analysis showed an anomalous composition. Iron with approximately 8% silicon, 4% magnesium, and 2% titanium, but with practically no nickel. This combination is highly unusual, as common metallic meteorites and industrial alloys usually contain nickel. Although the preliminary analysis is not definitive, Loeb ventured the possibility that these fragments were not simply natural, but perhaps parts of some technological device that was traveling through space, which, if confirmed, would be one of the most important discoveries in human history. Near the coast of Bimini Island in the Bahamas lies the Bimini Road. In September 1968, diver Joseph Manson Valentine noticed something strange under the surface. Rows of large flat blocks arranged with astonishing regularity in water just 5 or 6 meters deep. The next day, he confirmed that it looked like a paved road under the water. This underwater rocky structure, also known as the Bimini Wall, consists of an alignment of rectangular and polygonal limestone blocks forming a path about 800 meters long. The individual blocks measure on average 2 to 3 meters wide and more than half a meter thick, looking like time-polished slabs fitted together, like the ruins of an ancient pier or causeway. The news coincided with an enigmatic 1938 prophecy by the psychic Edgar Cayce, who claimed that a portion of the temples of Atlantis would emerge near Bimini in 1968 or 1969. For his followers, the finding was confirmation of his prediction, and Bimini became a place of pilgrimage. Geologists and underwater archaeologists have mapped not only the main causeway but also 2 smaller parallel formations. To the naked eye, the impression is certainly that of a cobbled road. The initial hypotheses pointed to a human construction, perhaps from some pre-Columbian culture or Old World sailors. However, the scientific explanation points to beach rock, a type of rock that forms naturally on beaches when sand and shell fragments are cemented over time. This rock sometimes cracks in a very orderly manner with straight lines forming shapes like squares or rectangles, which gives the appearance that someone cut and arranged the blocks. Afterward, the sea and currents can move or uncover those blocks, making them look like a road. Many geologists consider the Bimini Road a case similar to natural formations like the tessellated pavement in Tasmania. On the other hand, proponents of the artificial theory argue that the linear distribution and the similar size of the blocks are difficult to explain with only natural fractures. Some reports, not scientifically published, claim to have found what looked like logs or organic remains underneath the blocks, possibly tools or scaffolding. Gregory Little, a researcher, has suggested that it could be the pier or breakwater of an ancient submerged coastal settlement. Officially, most geologists lean toward the natural origin, while some independent archaeologists and mystery enthusiasts keep the idea of a mythical underwater city alive. Finally, the Antikythera Mechanism is perhaps the most amazing of these discoveries. In 1900, a group of Greek divers found the remains of an ancient Roman shipwreck at about 45 meters deep, near the rugged island of Antikythera. Among the recovered treasure statues, amphorae, jewelry, and amorphous mass of corroded bronze was also found. It was months later, on May 17, 1902, when the archaeologist Valerius Stace examined this greenish-gray lump that looked like a rock and distinguished something amazing embedded in it. A bronze gear with perfectly formed teeth. He was stunned, as it looked like a clockwork mechanism more than 2,000 years old, conjecturing that it was a kind of ancient astronomical clock. The object had broken into several fragments, revealing cogwheels, sun gears, and tiny inscriptions. It was not until the 1950s and 70s that the British physicist Derek J. de Solar Price, with X-ray studies, revealed the internal design and proposed its astronomical function, which was confirmed with later high-resolution analyses. Today, it is known as the Antikythera Mechanism and is no more, no less than the first known analog computer in history. Built by Greek scientists around the 1st century BC, its complexity was so surprising that nothing similar would be found until 1,600 years later in the development of astronomical clocks in medieval Europe. The mechanism was housed in a wooden box the size of a shoebox, about 34 by 18 by 9 centimeters, and contained an incredibly intricate system of at least 30 bronze cogwheels that meshed to reproduce astronomical movements. The largest wheel, 14 centimeters in diameter and with 223 teeth, probably represented the Metonic cycle. With a set of hands and scales, the mechanism allowed for predicting the positions of the sun and moon in the zodiac, lunar phases, and solar and lunar eclipses with remarkable precision. It even had an indicator for the dates of the main Panhellenic Games, including the ancient Olympics in a 4-year cycle, thus combining a civil, astronomical, and ritual calendar in a single device. Its sophistication changed our understanding of ancient engineering, as before its discovery no one imagined such a level of Greek skill in precision mechanics. Cicero, writing in the 1st century BC, had already mentioned that Archimedes and other sages built spheres that showed the movement of the sky, references that made more sense after Antikythera. It is believed that this device may have been the work of the Poseidonia school in Rhodes, perhaps designed by the astronomer Hipparchus or some artisan, and that it was on board a Roman ship bound for Rome, possibly as war booty or a commission for a nobleman. The shipwreck, dated around 70 or 60 BC, cut short its journey, sinking it along with its statues and riches, where it remained for almost 2,000 years. The deciphered inscriptions appear to be a shortened instruction manual explaining what each dial showed. Users could read the date of the next eclipses, the lunar phase on a given date, and know in which year there would be Olympic Games, all by turning some cranks. It was an astronomical machine, a prodigy of miniaturization with functions similar to a desktop planetarium. In 2005, very precise 3D tomographies revealed previously invisible characters and allowed for even more faithful modern recreations. Today, experts have built functional replicas that show the movement of the hands, the change of lunar phases, and the indicators of eclipses and calendars by turning the crank. The existence of this artifact raises questions about how many other similar inventions were lost, what brilliant mind conceived it, and how that knowledge was transmitted, as sadly no other examples are known. The fragments of the mechanism are now displayed in a showcase in the museum in Athens, being both an object of science and a profound mystery. These findings demonstrate that the ocean continues to be a place of constant discovery, revealing objects that challenge our expectations and expand our knowledge about the history of the Earth and perhaps beyond.